Marvel might actually give us something we thought we'd never see again. Another Incredible Hulk movie with Edward Norton back in the picture. Between shifting distribution rights, new insider leaks, Kevin Feige's cryptic comments, and Norton recently saying he's open to returning under the right story, the fandom has exploded overnight. Because if Marvel really does pull this off, it changes everything. So the question is, what would The Incredible Hulk 2 even look like in 2025? For a movie released in the shadow of Iron Man, 2008's The Incredible Hulk has aged into something Marvel never expected, a fan-protected cult classic. Its gritty tone, grounded fights, and Edward Norton's intense, emotionally fractured Bruce Banner left a very different kind of mark on the MCU. And now, after more than a decade of multiverse chaos and comedy-heavy scripts, fans look back at this film as one of Marvel's entry that felt raw, personal, and almost tragic. But the strange thing is, it's the only MCU solo film that never got a sequel. No follow-up, no closure, and no evolution of Norton's Banner. Just one movie, and then silence. If a single film created this much nostalgia, debate, and loyalty, what would a Part 2 unleash? A sequel wouldn't just be another Marvel movie. It would be a return to the version of the Hulk fans feel robbed of. The thriller-like tension, the tortured science drama, the brutality of a monster trying to stay human. That's why The Incredible Hulk 2 isn't just a wish. It feels like an overdue continuation of the MCU's most abandoned masterpiece. For years, The Incredible Hulk sat quietly in MCU history. Until recently, because now, in a phase where fans are exhausted from multiverse tangles, cameo overloads, and overly comedic scripts, one thing has become clear: Hulk never goes out of style. And Edward Norton's version? Even more timeless. The darker tone, the psychological tension, it feels like exactly what the MCU is missing right now. And what's fascinating is that this hype isn't just coming from Norton loyalists. Even Ruffalo-era fans are suddenly curious, saying, what would a modern, darker Hulk movie even look like? What if Norton and the MCU aesthetic finally aligned? What if Marvel actually finishes what it started? Reddit threads, X debates, or YouTube comment sections, they're all saying the same thing. Bring back the rage. Bring back the tragedy. Bring back the story that was left unfinished. If Marvel did pull the trigger, what story could possibly carry the weight of a 17-year wait? People don't just want a random sequel. They want the lost chapter of the MCU restored. A film that acknowledges the gap, deepens the lore, and shows what a brutal, honest, thriller-styled Hulk movie looks like in 2025. The excitement isn't nostalgia, it's anticipation for the version of Hulk we never truly got to explore. And if Marvel wants to keep things grounded, the way Norton's 2008 film did, then the most natural path is simple: to pick up the threads they left dangling 17 years ago. Norton's Hulk wasn't just a monster, he was a fracture waiting to break. The man was dealing with panic attacks, guilt, identity loss, and a love he could never truly have. And the movie ended on a cliffhanger, Bruce smiling as he finally embraced the Hulk. Fans always believed that moment was setting up something bigger and something darker. But what happens to a man who no longer fears the monster inside him, yet still can't control the world around him? That's where Abomination comes back in. Not the comedic, goofy version from She-Hulk, but the terrifying spined beast from 2008. Fans imagine a story where the government reactivates Emil Blonsky as a weapon, new super soldier programs secretly evolve, and Bruce and Hulk must face iron-fisted militarization, where Betty Ross returns, forcing Bruce to confront everything he ran from. This storyline would bring back the psychological thriller elements of body horror, identity crisis, and Bruce trying to undo the sins of the past. It completes the arc the first movie started, giving us closure on Norton's Banner and the emotional weight that made it iconic. But if Marvel wants Norton without rewriting the MCU, the multiverse becomes the cleanest doorway. It avoids contradictions, keeps Ruffalo canon, and gives Norton the freedom to play a more broken, more dangerous version of Bruce Banner. But even with all these theories, there's one possibility fans can't stop obsessing over. The one that feels risky, emotional, and absolutely explosive for the MCU. What happens if two completely different Hulks, two traumatized men with two opposite lives, finally meet? Fans picture Norton playing a hardened, older, emotionally scarred Hulk variant who never found peace. Maybe in his universe, he never controlled Hulk. Betty died. Abomination won, or Hulk became humanity's biggest threat. This creates the perfect setup for an ideological conflict. Hulk versus Hulk action sequences, a potential team-up against a multiversal threat. And the best part? There's no recasting drama, no continuity headaches, just pure cinematic electricity. Marvel even hinted through What If, Loki, and Doctor Strange 2 that variants of the same hero can be wildly different. A Norton variant would be prestige-level casting. adding gravity and symbolism to an MCU struggling to find emotional stakes again. And that's the reason fans are loving the idea of it. It's the dream scenario with two Hulks and two timelines colliding, and Norton gets to return without erasing Ruffalo, giving both fan bases what they want. But here's the thing. For every fan begging Marvel to make this movie, there's always another group terrified that a sequel could ruin everything the original perfected. One of the biggest reasons fans are buzzing about The Incredible Hulk 2 is the cast possibilities. Edward Norton returning as Bruce Banner is the dream anchor, the man who brought intelligence, angst, and raw emotional weight to a superhero blockbuster. But the potential cast doesn't stop there. Liv Tyler could reprise Betty Ross, her presence deepening the emotional stakes and reconnecting us to the original story. Tim Blake Nelson, the quirky scientist turned villain leader, has already been confirmed in the MCU's broader canon, making him a natural inclusion. And let's not forget Tim Roth's Abomination, because fans are eager for a darker, more threatening version than the comedic interpretation we've seen in recent shows. Even Thunderbolt Ross has potential changes, with William Hurt's legacy now possibly transitioning to Harrison Ford in a role that could redefine Banner's conflict with authority. But here's where things get tricky. While these cast returns could ignite fan excitement, not everyone thinks bringing back Norton's timeline is a good idea. Some fear it could clash with Ruffalo's Banner, confuse the continuity, or overshadow the MCU's current tone. Still, for those craving closure, nostalgia, and a darker, more mature Hulk story, this lineup hits all the right notes. These actors aren't just cameos, they're also the keys to completing a saga that's been waiting 17 years for its next chapter. But here's where the twist comes, because opinions are divided, and the debates online are already explosive. As soon as whispers of The Incredible Hulk 2 and Edward Norton's return hit, debates exploded online. Fans love the idea, but not everyone agrees, and some of the arguments go deep. Many believe the 2008 film is perfect just the way it is. Its gritty realism and psychological depth gave it a unique place in the MCU. Updating it risks diluting that charm. Reddit threads are filled with pleas like, "Leave Norton's Hulk alone. Don't touch perfection." For these fans, nostalgia isn't just sentiment, it's also sacred. Others worry that the MCU's current comedic, lighthearted style could clash with Norton's darker, more tragic Banner. Would Marvel still have the courage to honor that tone, or would the sequel slip into slapstick to fit the modern MCU? So the fan base is split between nostalgia, tonal consistency, and MCU politics all colliding at once. But despite the debates, the hype is undeniable. These controversies fuel theories, stoke anticipation, and prove one thing, that Marvel fans are desperate for closure, or at least a story that does justice to Norton's Banner. The biggest obstacle to The Incredible Hulk 2 has never been the story, the cast, or fan demand. It's actually the lawsuit level, behind-the-scenes headache of distribution rights. Universal Pictures still owns the rights to Hulk's solo films. That means Marvel can use the character in ensemble projects, but they can't release a standalone Hulk movie without Universal's involvement. And that explains the 17-year silence. Why hasn't Marvel simply picked up where Norton left off? It's not lack of interest, it's legal boundaries. Every rumor, leak, or fan plea ran straight into this invisible wall. But here's the exciting twist. Recent whispers suggest that the rights landscape may have quietly shifted. Disney's ongoing IP acquisitions and their growing control over Marvel's catalog could finally create a legal window for a solo Hulk sequel. Suddenly, all those impossible plans become plausible. Edward Norton returning isn't just a fan dream, it's a realistic possibility. Once the legal fog clears, Norton's Banner could reclaim the MCU stage, unresolved storylines could finally get closure, and fans could witness the darker psychological Hulk story they've been begging for. The conversation isn't just hypothetical anymore, it's a live possibility. And that brings us to the biggest wild card of all, Edward Norton himself. Edward Norton's Hulk left a mark that fans still talk about today. His portrayal wasn't just about smashing, it was psychologically rich and emotionally layered. He brought a realism to Bruce Banner that the MCU rarely revisits. A man haunted by his own strength, constantly struggling to control the monster within. So when rumors of his return hit, the fan base exploded. Norton himself has mentioned he'd consider coming back under the right creative circumstances. And the multiverse opens doors Marvel couldn't touch before. Suddenly, a sequel doesn't just mean action sequences. It could mean emotional depth, moral stakes, and a return to the intensity that made the first movie unforgettable. The implications are huge. A Norton comeback would dominate social media, drive theory videos, and ignite every MCU discussion for months. It's more than just casting. It's also a statement that Marvel is willing to honor its past while exploring new narrative risks. And now there's only one question question left. Will The Incredible Hulk 2 finally give Norton the story his banner deserves? The Incredible Hulk may have been quiet for 17 years, but its legacy is undeniable. Norton's banner brought a rare intensity to the MCU, blending psychological depth and relentless tension, qualities that no other hero has matched. The unresolved storylines, the unanswered questions, and the darker tone of the 2008 film have kept fans dreaming, theorizing, and debating every possibility. Now, with rights shifts potentially opening the door and cast rumors heating up, the stage is set for a sequel that could finally do justice to Norton's banner. The two leading theories of the trauma sequel or the multiverse variant storyline only add to the excitement. So the question is simple. Do you want Incredible Hulk 2 with Edward Norton, or should the 2008 classic stay untouched? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching.